If your house is anything like mine right about now, there's a lot of conversations about Christmas presents. Feel free, guys, yeah. I would imagine that this is pretty common in every household, and certainly is common in America right now as we perhaps start our shopping or finish our shopping, depending on how we're doing with our Christmas presents. But I heard not too long ago on the radio that the most sought after Christmas gifts, they're saying this year for children, that is, well, children-ish, for youth, 18 and under, is what? Video games. The most sought after presents they're estimating for adults this year, or what they're projecting is going to be the most purchased items for adults, is what? Any guesses? Tech? Yeah. Smart devices. So smartphones or smart home devices like thermostats and, other things that we have, Wi-Fi, et cetera, et cetera. It's amazing to me when I heard that about the adults specifically, about phones and these devices that we constantly use. It is absolutely amazing to me how in the span of maybe a short 10, 15 years, these have become an indispensable part of everyday life. I mean, for goodness sake, I even bring them out to read some prayers for services that I don't have, a book for, at times. The Phaneropita springs to mind. So even in the church itself, we also use these devices. The chanters use these devices and so forth. They have become so necessary, it seems, to our everyday life that, of course, these conversations are going to take place around Christmas time. Whenever we have one of these devices, whether it be a phone or something else, and something breaks, how frustrating can it be, right? Apple, I guess, made some waves 2 weeks ago, right before Thanksgiving, announcing that for the first time in the history of the iPhone, they would be selling spare parts directly to customers. Before that, just 2 years before that, they finally relented and allowed individual independent vendors to purchase spare parts, and you could take your iPhone to be repaired at a specific vendor, but only one that was approved by Apple. But prior to 2019, none of that was in existence. You had to go through Apple itself, the Apple Store or whatever, which is why you have these ridiculous wait times, et cetera, et cetera. In any case, amazingly, I'm sure that is going to be welcome news to some of us who do want to repair our own screen or whatever it might be. I understand that just 200 parts, only 200 parts are going to be permitted at first, and then we'll see. But in any case, repairing something that we need is critically important, right? I mean, especially something like that we use so often in everyday life, that has become so indispensable, that has become an addiction in some cases, for sure. How frustrating can it be when we use something, we need something, and it doesn't work? It breaks. Whatever that might be, right? We have to take it somewhere where it can be repaired, whether that be our phone, whether that be our car, something in our home, like, I don't know, the garage door or something, whatever it might be, an appliance. And it can be frustrating. It can be frustrating. Do we, my brothers and sisters, have anything perhaps in here that is broken? In here that needs to be repaired? And if we do we know where to take that to be repaired? Something in our life, something in our heart that needs to be put back together. Do we take it to a mechanic? Do we take it to someone who might know? Do we try to do it ourselves? And if so, how successful are we? How successful are we? As frustrating as it might be for one of our devices to break, what happens when something in here is not quite functional as it should be? Today, we hear in the gospel reading about Jesus encountering someone who needed repair, quote unquote. We hear this beautiful story about a woman who could not straighten herself, someone who was so hunched over for 18 years, maybe kind of a hunchback, who knows? Who knows exactly what this person looked like? But smack in the middle of Jesus' ministry in the Gospel of Luke, in this stretch of chapters in this Gospel, where he goes from town to town healing and teaching to the people. Well, this woman he sees who needed repair. But it wasn't simply a physical miracle that took place today. Yes, Jesus went over to her and he saw that there was something wrong, something that needed fixing, if you will. And surely enough, he did indeed repair, quote unquote, her spine, and she was able to stand up straight. But notice also some of the words that the evangelist uses here. At the beginning of this passage that we hear today, we hear that this woman had a spirit of infirmity. And Jesus himself, when he responds to the people who witnessed the miracle, says, look at this woman whom Satan bound for 18 years. There's this connotation here, my brothers and sisters, that it's not simply a physical malady. There is a spiritual malady that was taking place here for 18 years. Otherwise, how could Satan have been involved? Satan is not involved, at least I don't think, whenever we have something wrong with our thumb or our hand, or we break a bone or something. Only God knows. But nevertheless, Jesus makes it clear today there was a spirit of infirmity that also needed healing. It wasn't just this woman's back who needed to be repaired. It was something deeper than that. It was something in here that needed healing. And Jesus, being the wonderful and loving God that he is, indeed fixed that which needed to be repaired. This woman had a great need, both in her heart and in her back, her body, physical and spiritual, needed mending, needed to be put back together. And Jesus was the one place, the one mechanic, if you will, who did that repair work and fixed what was broken. This, my brothers and sisters, is a lesson to all of us. Again, not just about miraculous healings, because those take place as well, but whatever is in here for each of us that perhaps is not quite so simple as going to the doctor and getting a medication for something or getting a cast for something. Deeper than that, when we have something that is in here, perhaps we ourselves might have a spirit of infirmity, something spiritual that we can't quite put our finger on, and we can take it nowhere to be fixed than Jesus Christ himself. That is where we go to get the repair that we need, because the Lord loves us so much and is with us in those moments of need that he is the place that we go to have our lives fixed as well. Just a few weeks ago, around the same time that Apple announced this, baseball handed out their awards this year for the season in terms of Pitcher of the Year, Rookie of the Year, MVP, et cetera, et cetera. And it amazed me that the pitcher this year for the American League who won the Pitcher of the Year, the Cy Young Award, who led the major leagues in strikeouts this year, essentially the best pitcher in baseball this year, was the worst pitcher in baseball last year. He led the league in walks last year, which for a pitcher is basically, that's how you lose your job, is when you start walking batters, okay? Something happened between the previous year, 2020, and 2021. And I began doing some reading about this guy. His name is Robbie Ray. And he went to someone and said, what do I need to do to fix this about my career? Otherwise, I'm not going to have a career, basically. And he tweaked just one or two things about his mechanics, how much he bent this way before he threw the ball, his windup, his release, everything. And somehow just a couple of little fixes not only repaired his career, but took it to heights undreamed of before. At the risk of mixing metaphors, I threw that story in, forgive me. But even so, the point is the same. We don't just get our lives fixed by Christ, but there are things, talk about miracles, there are things that we perhaps could not even have dreamed of in terms of our ability to function after we are with Christ. An anonymous desert father once said, Let us gather together the cures of the soul: piety, righteousness, humility, and submission. Submission, that is, to God. The greatest physician of our souls, Christ our God, is near to us and is willing to heal us. Let us not underestimate him. The greatest physician of our souls is near us and is willing to heal us. I don't think we need any more additional words than that. God exists to help us to fix what is broken in our lives. By turning to him in prayer, we receive his help. And when no one else can help us, when no one else can repair us, he is the one who can, and take us to heights that perhaps before we had not even dreamed.